From the west bank of the Demerara River to the east bank of the Essequibo and including the islands at the mouth of the Essequibo, Region 3 is the second smallest administrative region in Guyana in terms of land mass. However, it is one of the most diverse. Welcome to Guyana 411. I am Sinika Thorne. Please stay tuned. Connected to Guyana's administrative center by a floating bridge, Region 3 stretches along the coastland belt to the east bank of the Essequibo River. Linking the region with Guyana's vast hinterland has been dreamed about for many decades. Such a venture would open up to the vast potential of the region. Now, the dream is becoming a reality. Region 3 is a largely agrarian society with rice, sugarcane, and cash crop being the main product. It is envisaged that the agriculture output will multiply tremendously when new lands become accessible. This will also create jobs for many, especially young entrepreneurs.
Farmers and the mining industry stakeholders will soon benefit from a significant boost in the infrastructural transport network in Region 3 that the administration is eyeing.
This is one of the roads that basically came on stream, which would add towards the mining industry in persons using it as one of the alternative routes in getting to those areas. For instance, getting over to Bartica. We know for a fact that once we meet at the end of the road, which is the Del Conte, Goshen area, basically one may want to use either a boat or basically from our ministry, and we would be thinking if a bridge may be the best option in constructing from that end going across the Bartica. So works are on stream, the feasibility study is ongoing, and we're expecting that as soon as that feasibility study is wrapped up, we would be able to make some decisions in terms of whether we use a bridge or whether we go with a steamer service or a pontoon, or whichever way works in terms of economic feasibility. The government will take a position on that.
The opening up of the Del Conte Road means that farmers can benefit from having a paved road network to traffic their produce from the farm to the market. The Del Conte Road begins at Perica East Bank Essequibo and goes all the way down to the East Bank Essequibo area into Goshen.
I born and grew in this area. I farm in Maripa level.
What was it? I see you got more.
Yeah, well, most of this I've been doing cash crop farming, plus I've got planting and so. But not, I didn't really make that to the, yes, like Friday I was most bring up provision. You understand? But I really want this road for grade up and look after, you understand? Because how the road dry here now, everything alright. But you see, soon as rain start fall, I be a mess I be living here all the time. You got to full this road yourself, drain them yourself, and maintain them. For go out and come in. This is so, this is a bend off road. This road got need for repair from Cashew Bridge. For come down all the way, they say just on repairing or whatever the road want. You know much time them minister then come in this place and be talk about the road and they can't do up to now. None of them. Just watch the road and talk to the ranger for bring him grader. You walk a region, he can't even say how the grader, if he there in working condition or up to now. He can't do. And when the road bad, but you got to pay freight, people freight for care and thing, it's expensive for you. The little greens so you get the price cheap and all, so you don't really make nothing.
We all know coming out of East Bank Essequibo, there's quite a lot of farming in terms of provision, cash crops, and other produce that comes out from those areas that would also benefit. Because some of the farmers may use the river, and with the road coming into being now, it's obvious it becomes a little easier for them to determine whether or not the alternative routes of using the road is better than using the river. So it gives you choices.
This project forms part of the administration's overall plan, which is to ensure accessibility around the country's economic activities. The opening up of the Perica Goshen Road is not the only infrastructural transformation that the administration is undertaking in the region. Works have already commenced on the widening of the West Coast Demerara Road from Vredenhoop to Hydroni. This project is valued at $42 million US.
Presently what is happening, it's a contract between the government of Guyana, you have CDB, the lenders, and we have the contractor being Shuri, in joint venture with BK International. They're now working from the Hydruni end, and that's approximately 6 kilometers from Hydruni coming down, where utilities have been moved, and we see some amount of widening taking place in those areas right now, and works is expected to continue.
Additionally, plans are in train to rehabilitate the Breeding Hoop Stelling. The 2016 proposed budgetary allocation has provided for continued studies to be executed for a permanent structure across the Demerara River. A pre-feasibility study estimated the construction of such a structure to be in the vicinity of $264.5 million, which can be placed at either Good Hope on the east bank, to Wales on the west bank of Demerara, or at Houston on the east bank to Versailles on the west bank of Demerara. This transformation to the transport network in the region is done with the intention of having improved levels of goods and services to the area, which ultimately will see the flourishing of micro-business enterprises.
We envisage bridging the Demerara, a new fixed structure in the Demerara. We're talking about a new road, a roadway connecting from Sand Hill, going all the way to linking back up with that same Parika Goshen Road. You know, I mean, it's all nice virgin land. We're talking about Molson Creek to Oriala to Molson Creek work. We're talking about redevelopment of Stellings. I mean, I have a proposal which I'm going to send to cabinets, and about redevelopment of both the Freedom Hoop and the Georgetown Stelling. I mean, that is prime land, prime commercial land. What we're supposed to be doing is not just anchoring ships there. We're supposed to be doing in any other country that would be in riverside property with commercial venues and those things like that. I have a proposal. As you see it now, it's not the final thing. It should. I have a proposal on doing some boardwalks in the seawalls area. You know what I mean, which is both will help with our sea defense work, as well as make a space for people on Sundays, you know what I mean? So therefore, I mean, it's done. It's quite easily done. So 2020, we should have a transformed city and a transformed country.
More vehicles being utilized to transport farming produce and other goods and services increased the need for gas stations, mechanics, bus and taxi drivers, grocery stores and other businesses, thereby creating the framework for a number of economic activities to which residents can take advantage. Additional investments to the region from the Regional Council includes $6 million to maintain bridges at Hague, Eastern Leg 1, Canal No. 1 and Windsor Forest. $129.1 million will go towards the maintenance of drainage and irrigation works, and $10.4 million will go for drainage structures at Hague River Sluice, Zeeland River Sluice and Metamizorg.
Region 3 has an area of 3,700 square kilometers. The 2012 census put the population at just over 107,000. But this number could explode as the government's vision to transform the region is realized. Housing for the residents is a top priority.
Region 3 has been listed as one of the fastest growing regions as a result of the many new housing areas which have been established but are still not fully developed. It is against this background that the government, through the Housing Department of the Ministry of Communities, is working aggressively to ensure that residents of these housing areas live comfortably as the coalition government strives to provide the good life for all.
There are other areas that we have now turned our attention to over in Region 3. As you know, Region 3 has a large population and we need to address them in a special way. We have therefore targeted Stewartville, Edinburgh, Anna Katrina and Carolina Ida to build houses between now and 2020. The areas to be developed will be, in one case, Edelstate, Stewartville. They have lots, about 227 lots there. We hope to build 50 houses between now, within our 2015 to 2020 program. 50 houses there, 50 for Edinburgh, 100 for Carolina, Anna Katrina, and 50 for Carolina Island. So by the time 2020, according to our work plan, we should be able to have those houses ready.
Although a number of new housing areas have been established, the level of occupancy remains at all-time low, which is particularly visible at Parfait Harmony and the second phases of the Bell West and Tusham schemes, among others, as the lack of the requisite infrastructure pose a challenge for the allottees. However, this will soon be addressed as efforts are underway to have the necessary infrastructure installed in the housing schemes before individual lots are allocated. In cases of already allocated lots, the Housing Department will intensify efforts to install the necessary facilities to allow persons to take up their lots.
What I've so far encountered, having gone in the area, is that there do seem to be a bit of a drainage problem. The roads are fairly okay, about 50% of them are good, and the others we have to upgrade most of the rest. In terms of electricity, that is also on stream, but the drainage, I'm not so satisfied with that. And to that end, I have asked my engineers to let us pay a little bit more attention so that we can now have the drainage being brought up to speed. When we decided to do a new scheme, we know that we started with the infrastructure. That is what helps us to put the cost of the land and the house that we get. We also address that by putting in poles so they can get access to GPL. Water almost goes automatically with it. So I can easily say that Region 3 has been serviced with water, electricity, and the other infrastructure aspect. This is why I told you just now that we have about 60% roads are a good standard, and we are looking at the other parts of the road.
Housing development has led to more homes and housing schemes being established not only in the outskirts of the city, but also along the coastal and rural areas. The coalition government's vision for housing will make it more affordable for Guyanese to own a home. The transformation currently being experienced in the housing sector is one that every Guyanese can boast of, as this is a fresh approach to the provision of housing for all Guyanese.
Developing the human resources is of critical importance if Region 3 is to realize its full potential. It is therefore necessary that students living in this region are able to advance their education right within the region.
With 46 nursery and 58 primary schools, the enabling environment for nursery and primary learning in the region has already been created. The focus is now on universal access to secondary education. In this regard, there are two objectives: to ensure all the region's 14 secondary schools are functioning to adequately meet the needs of the region, and constructing new schools.
Universal secondary education is very important for the Ministry of Education, and as it relates to Region 3, we would have done some very specific things to ensure that every single secondary age student has access to a discrete secondary education, as opposed to some of the primary tops that existed in the region. To that end, we are hoping to, over the next 2 years, meet the entire requirement for that in Region 3. We're just, I think, about 80 to 90% along that continuum. And we would have, as you are aware, built a new school at Lenora Secondary, just a few years ago. And the expansion of Zeeburg Secondary is ongoing. That should be completed very soon, with capacity for an additional 800 students.
The construction of a new school in Parfait Harmony will cater for a growing student population. The focus is not only on addressing the needs of the students on the coast, but also those in the riverine areas. So whether it is putting in place transportation or other arrangements, the goal is to ensure that every child of secondary school age can access a school in the region.
I also see that there's a purchase of a boating engine to under education capital projects.
All right. In capital projects, boat and engine is going to be used to do two things. One, improve supervisory visits to our schools in Wakenham, Legwan, Esquivel River. It is also going to assist in the distribution of our juice and biscuits to all the riverine schools and all other materials, including textbooks, exercise books, and materials that we provide for these schools. One of the major things we are going to do come next year is that we are going to name one of our secondary schools the school that is going to offer keep at least one school in 4 subject areas. And the thought is that we identify the West Demerara Secondary School for this project.
There is also discussion to have at least one public school offering the Caribbean Proficiency Advanced Examination in the region. Currently, secondary education certificate examination is being offered in Region 3.
We are discussing the possibilities to see how viable that option is with the administration of Region 3, and hopefully we can work out all of the necessary details to make that happen.
The drive is also on modernizing the classrooms in the region to make them more conducive to learning in a 21st century learning environment. Right now, all the region's secondary schools have functioning ICT labs. The next objective is to ensure that the primary schools also get these facilities.
For that, we'll have to put in the necessary infrastructure to accommodate those, since the primary schools, the structures currently weren't built with that in mind, so there's a bit of work to be done in that regard.
Focus is also on equipping the schools with trained personnel. As it relates to teacher training, the Cyril Potter College of Education has a satellite center in Region 3, and this facilitates ongoing training of teachers.
In terms of the human resource aspect, our teachers continue to attend workshops and seminars. Some of our teachers continue to attend the CPC, both in service and pre-service. And out of those, some continue to attend the University of Guyana on release from the region. And we are in close contact with our teachers as they do this.
The goal is to have almost all the teachers in the region be fully trained in the next 3 to 5 years.
We still have challenges, as I mentioned before, in some of the deep riverine areas where finding suitably qualified individuals and facilitating their ready access to training is still a challenge, so we're working on that.
Emphasis is also on ensuring that performance levels improve in the region and that there be some degree of equity in relation to that output.
As you know, schools such as West Demerara Secondary and Zeebrugge Secondary are really, and those in the Essequibo Islands are really performing rather well at our CSEC assessments, and there's also always room for improvement, but they've been constantly improving and demonstrating a high level of output. What we want to do is to ensure that the others, Parika Secondary and Potentia Secondary, Laventure, and the other schools raise their standards so that we can have an equitable spread across the region.
In order to improve its economic status and support the ability of its citizens to obtain gainful employment, opportunities to access education is imperative in any region or community. Central government and the Region 3 administration recognizes this, and they are putting the resources to ensure a high quality of education is offered in the region.
While government has signaled its commitment to put in place measures to improve the efficacy of the country's social welfare programs, the regional administration of Region 3 has been engaging the local churches and other organizations to tackle these issues. In the thrust to transform Region 3, there are social issues that must be addressed. In addition to problems of child labor, drug and alcohol abuse, the region is also faced with a high suicide rate and other problems. It is the intention of the government to tackle these ills and other social issues.
The problem experienced by women, children, and the elderly in Region 3 are by no means unique, since they also exist throughout the other regions. Nevertheless, they have become serious constraints in the lives of this vulnerable group of people. By far, the common issue among the women folk in the region is that of alcohol abuse by their spouses. There are also issues surrounding women who have encountered difficult social circumstances and find it difficult to maintain themselves and children. For children in Region 3, the challenges include being product of broken homes and without much support, early sexual activity, and teenage pregnancy.
We encourage clubs and societies to be formed in the different communities. Right now, there is a special funding given to us by the Ministry of, well, a special funding for us to develop some grounds. One would have been farm. And the reason for developing that ground and farm is to allow that level of social cohesiveness among people. And we would be doing that. On our own, we are developing some grounds. The NDCs are developing some grounds. And the main reason for doing that is to bring people together, or young people, so that we keep them out of some of these delinquent behaviors. And we would hope to, when we bring them together there, to keep them in some club or some organization and to be able to build on that through other programs. In the different communities, I mean, the churches are helping out and they are doing their work in their own way. But in terms of other social organization, to some extent, but we hope to build on those. We hope to build on those. But in terms of an established structure, let me be honest, there's none that would allow us to factor in on anything.
So is there need for one something to provide those
I would hope that it, or I would say that there is a need, for the main reason that we don't know what can happen next. You don't know how people are thinking and what they are going to do next. And therefore, if there's an organization or some agency that would come on board, it would definitely cause that not to happen.
And then there is the elderly, perhaps the most vulnerable category, who oftentimes are victim of neglect and bullyism and experience discomfort in collecting their pension. In order to address one dimension of inclusive growth, which is the protection of the disadvantaged group of society, government is committed to put in place measures to improve the effectiveness of the country's social welfare programs. These measures will ensure availability of social safety nets to reduce poverty and the promotion of opportunities for special groups such as women, the elderly, and the youth throughout the 10 administrative regions.
The transformation of Region 3 cannot be accomplished or maintained without addressing the shortcomings in the healthcare system, and there are plans by the government to do so.
With new and emerging housing settlements and schemes, Region 3 will soon become one of the most transformed districts in the country. But with a growing population, the responsibilities for the nation's health is also increasing. As such, Minister of Public Health Dr. George Norton has pointed out that the residents of this region will soon be benefiting from improved health care.
As it is now, we are operating the theater at about a 12-hour, so to speak, operation. The pharmacy is operating the normal working time in terms of the 8 hours. And what we would have found out is that these kinds of services, based on our population, based on our intake or visits by residents, it is difficult for us to be able to manage the numbers during this short span of time. One of the plans would be 1 to 24 hours operation for the theater. The pharmacy, we wanted to work at least up to about 10, 11 o'clock in the night, so that those persons who are working and they have to see doctors, and there is need for them to have access to the pharmacy to receive drugs, that those who come off work from 4:30 would also have access to the pharmacy. We want to introduce different areas in terms of what health services are offered at the public hospital Georgetown, that some of those health services are transferred in a very true sense to the West MRR Hospital.
The ministry is currently tendering for a number of projects in the region, including a modernization project for the West MRR Regional Hospital. Several aspects of work are expected to be carried out on this facility, including the upgrading of the postnatal unit and the neonatal services.
Specifically, we hope to improve the pediatric area and the maternity area, focusing specifically on maternal health as well as neonatal health for babies. You would know that while we have an area located for the neonatology unit with incubators and so on that is not functioning. We are already making efforts to get that unit up and running, and work is being done at this moment. And I'm hoping that by next week, or probably in another 2 weeks, we will have that neonatology unit functioning. Surrounding that area that is earmarked for neonatology, we have an area that is also earmarked for the postnatal mothers. It is more spacious. It has more space, because right now that hospital is cramped for postnatal mothers with their babies, and they're actually sharing with prenatal mothers, and we will hope to correct that situation. We are aware of the limitations that they've been exposed to over the years, and we hope to correct that. We would let them know that funding should not be a problem, and we're certain that the main referral center, that is the West Demerara Regional Hospital, will not only have a facelift, but we have changes in infrastructure. I mean, the actual building itself is an old wooden structure, and while we don't have a plan to actually, let's say, change it completely, we will do as much as possible. And any form of construction that we are undertaking now, we'll make certain that it will be, concrete rather than wood. And we're hoping that we can once again get to the stage where West Demerara Regional Hospital supplied services to the communities on a 24-hour basis, because right now the operating theater after 9 o'clock is closed until the next day.
Further emphasis will also be placed on the Leonora Cottage Hospital, with hopes to fully transform the facility, since it has been termed as a disappointment by subject minister. The ministry will also be looking into the issues surrounding drug procurement at healthcare facilities in the islands of Leg 1 and Wakenham, which also form part of the region. Also, a large sum was budgeted to improve transportation with regards to healthcare in that area.
Land and water transportation for health, we are spending $10 million.
Where is the land and water transportation going to?
The land and water transportation for health, that is going to take care of the Essequibo River, the Demerara River, Leg 1 and Wakenham.
Who is it for?
It is for health workers
Okay.
that would service the communities here, because we have a number of outposts and health centers in those communities here.
With the 2015 budget catering for all the aforementioned plans for the Region 3's health sector, residents can expect a healthy package right at their home in their region.
You are watching Guyana 411. This week we looked at plans to transform Region 3 and improve the quality of life of its citizens. Until next time, remember to keep your chin up and your environment clean.